And we are officially live. Super excited to chat with you today. If you are not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, you do not get the visual right now. I am in a beautiful, serene. I am not recording this episode today in my studio. I have decided that one time a year in the summertime that I will go outside. It's just a tradition that I've done with my former co-host, Tony Glover. Shout out to you, brother. So, hey, let's get into it right away. So I want you to think about something before we even get started today. I want you to think about the last time that you said, I'll start Monday. Think about that last time you said, once things calm down, or maybe then I'll get back on track. Think about the last time you said those things. Like when the kids maybe get older, you've said this, right? Or when work slows down, or when I have more money, or you might even say when I feel ready. How long ago was that? Was that a month? Was that 6 months? Was that 3 years? Because here's the question that nobody ever asks. Are you ready for it? You like my scenery in the background, y'all? And the fact that I'm shirtless today. Well, welcome. I'm super excited. So let me just get into it though. So maybe it was a month, maybe it was 6 months, maybe it's 3 years, because here's the question that nobody asks. And it's the question this entire episode is going to be built around. Are you ready for it? Drum roll, please. Let me grab a quick drink. What has that pause cost you? Now that it might cost you, not that it might cost you someday. What does it already cost you? And I'm talking past tense, gone, done. And that's where I'm going to take you today. Welcome to Live to Thrive. My name is Michael Hicks, and this is episode 193. This is a series, and this is part 2 of the 3-part series. So if you haven't listened to the previous episode, it's probably a strong suggestion that you do, and that was the trap of the perfect plan. If you haven't listened to do that, make sure you go back to do that first, because the foundation there is really about, I'll just give you the quick overview, but you should probably go back and listen to that. It's overthinking is just fear wearing a suit. So today I'm going to actually go deeper. Today I'm going to talk about what that fear is, what it's dressed up as patience and planning and waiting for that right particular moment. What has it actually been taken from you while you weren't looking? That's the price of the pause. Let's get into it. So here's the one thing about staying stuck that nobody tells you about. And it doesn't feel like a decision. It's the con, actually. It's the whole game piece, right? When you're in the trap of the perfect plan, when you're waiting, when you're delaying, when you're overthinking, when you're researching, when you're preparing to prepare. In fact, I was just on a clarity call with a potential client. Loved everything that I had to offer, but had to talk to his significant other. But the value was good. So it doesn't feel like you're choosing anything. It feels like you're just, how can I say it? You're just not ready yet. Like you're being responsible, or you think it's the responsible thing. I got to ask my significant other. Maybe even think you're even wiser for doing that. Maybe even you think you're even more patient when you do that. However, I need you to hear this really clearly. Inaction is a choice that you make every single day of your life. It's like every choice you make. Every choice has a consequence, positive or negative. Every inaction has a choice, positive or negative consequence. Now, the pause, I'm going to be clear here, friends. It isn't neutral. The pause isn't nothing happening. The pause is what I call active. And the pause is costing you something every single day that it goes on and on and on. And most people never stop to actually add up the bill, so to speak. Think about it in this way perspective. If someone was quietly withdrawing $50 from your bank account every single day, would you notice eventually? In fact, you probably would feel it, right? You do something about it immediately. Yet when the thing about being withdrawn is your health, your energy, your presence with your kids, your sense of who you are, your purpose, it's slower, it's quieter, and it doesn't show up on a bank statement. So you don't feel the urgency. You keep saying, not yet. And the withdrawals just keep happening from your own bank account. I want to introduce you to someone. In fact, I've worked with this client, and I'm just for the sake of naming pieces, and I don't like to put my clients on blast, but I'm going to call him David for the sake of this episode. Now, David is 36 years, or excuse me, I think he was 38 years old. He's a husband. He is a father of 2 boys. I think the ages were 8 and 11 during the time I worked with him. He was a project manager. He was sharp, organized, detailed, oriented, the kind of guy who can run a complex project at work with, how could I say it, 12 moving parts and never miss the deadline. Does that make sense? Maybe that's even you. So, however, his personal life, his health, his sense of direction were stalled. And not because David was lazy, because he certainly wasn't, because he decided to work with me one-on-one in my VIP coaching practice. So it's the fact that David, it's not even the fact that David didn't care. David cared immensely, deeply. He could hear it in everything that he was talking about, what he wanted to be. He wanted to be a better dad. He wanted to lose the 40 pounds. But in the last 5 years, wanting to feel like himself again and wanting to lead his family differently. Yet David had that same pattern. Every time he got closer to making a move or a decision, like signing up for the gym, reaching out to a coach, having that tough, hard conversation with his wife about where they are as a team, something would derail them. Something would happen. And not as a crisis, just more as resistance, like doubt. And the voice that maybe said, the timing just isn't right now. Let me think about that a little bit more even, he may have said. Or I don't want to commit to something I can't follow through on. And David then would pause. And then that moment would pass. And then 6 months later, here we are. Now, not only did 6 months later pass, but when David first came to me, he said something I literally cannot get out of my head, and I can't forget it. He said, Michael, I feel like I've been standing on the edge of the diving board for years, and I can see the water, and I know what to do. I just can't make myself jump. And I hate using that word can't, but that's what he said. And I asked him one question. I said, David, while you've been standing on that board, what's been happening in the water below you? Now, he paused for a long time. He got really quiet. And I remember this distinctively. And that answer, what he was about to give me was everything, because everything he wanted had been happening without him. For example, his boys were growing up. His body was changing. His wife was slowly, quietly building a life that didn't really include waiting for him to show up. And then in his own respect was eroding, one, not yet, at a time. So that's the illusion of not yet. It feels like you're holding still. You're not. In fact, life doesn't hold still with you. I want to break this down even more, because my thought is this. I don't want this to be an abstract situation. I don't want you to nod along in the car or at the gym or wherever you're listening to this. I want you to actually feel this for a second, maybe even 30 seconds. And then I want you to go back. And then that's exactly what I do not want you to do, is go back unchanged. So I want you to feel the specific cost, the specific areas, because that's what actually moves people. All right. Let me go here for a second. The cost to your body. Let's start here because it's the most visible and in a lot of ways the most honest mirror we have. Every day you delay getting your health right on track with nutrition, movement, sleep, energy is another day the gap widens between who you are physically and who you know you could be. And now I'm not just talking about the scale, okay? I'm talking about energy, men, or even just women, just energy. The fact that you're running at 60% when your family needs 100% of you. The fact that you're winded doing things you shouldn't be winded doing. And the fact that you look in the mirror and feel disconnected from the guy looking back at you. Is that you? David told me he used to coach his son's little league baseball team. And he stopped 2 seasons ago, he told me. And you know why he did this? He wasn't in he actually told me he was embarrassed and he didn't even have the energy to keep up. He didn't feel like a man who had the right to be out there running the drills. He would get home and be the couch potato, disconnect from the world, right? Feet up, beer in the hand or next to him, binging on whatever episode. And he didn't quit coaching because he was busy. He quit because of the pause. And I've been talking about this pause. Years of, I'll get back to the shape soon, had stolen that from him and especially his son. So that's the cost to your body. It's not just physical, y'all. It's what I call relational. And it's the things you opt out of due to the fact that you don't feel like yourself anymore. Now, here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Staying stuck is absolutely exhausting. You don't think that not acting, not deciding, not committing, that it would feel restful. It doesn't. In fact, it feels like carrying a weight that never gets put down. Every item on your someday list is a mental tab open in the background. Yeah. I laugh because I've got so many tabs on this display in front of me when I said that. So now, the longer you carry, I should really do something about my health and I need to figure out my next move and I have to make that conversation. Guess what happens? The heavier it gets and the more anxious you feel and the more you need something to take the edge off at the end of the day. Now, that's not weakness, y'all. That's what I call actual math. It's math. And your mind was not designed to hold unresolved tension indefinitely because it will find a release valve, whether it's in alcohol, whether it's in food, whether it's in doom scrolling, whether it's checking out, whether it's numbing out, wherever it is or whatever it is for you. I guarantee some pattern of that behavior is a direct result of open loops that you have not closed. So David told me he was drinking 3 or 4 beers every single night. And not because he was an alcoholic. He wasn't. He just said, I just need to decompress. I just need to turn my brain off. I said, David, what would happen if there was nothing to turn off? What if the thing your brain was running on at night, the anxiety, the unresolved tension, what if that was gone because you'd actually made some moves during the day? He paused and he looked at me. And I think he said something like in a foreign language because he never connected those dots. He thought the beer was about stress. It was actually about the pause that I've been talking about. It's about carrying 5 years of I'll get to it with no relief in sight. I want to transition now into what it's costing in your relationships. This is the real part, y'all. And if I need you to stay with me here, this is where it's going to sting a little bit. I'm going to be fully transparent here. The people closest to you, your wife, your significant other, your kids, your closest relationships, they're not waiting as patiently as you think they are. And let me be a little bit more clear on that. It's not because they don't love you. They do. However, love doesn't pause time. Love doesn't make your kids' childhoods longer. Love doesn't stop your wife from building emotional distance as a form of self-protection that she's been waiting for years for you to show up fully, and you keep just arriving at maybe 60 or 70%. David's wife, and for this episode, I'm just going to call her Lisa. She hadn't checked out, yet she had adapted. She stopped asking David to come to certain things because she learned to expect him to be present in body only. Oh, that's going to sting, right? She handled the household decisions alone because waiting for David to engage fully just led to delay. So she had quietly, lovingly, and even sadly built a life that didn't depend on David anymore. And David hadn't even noticed, y'all, because the shift had been so gradual, a degree at a time. The way the room gets colder when you don't notice the temperature dropping, right? When he finally saw it, he really saw it, and it broke him open in one of our sessions. He said something like this to me. He said, Michael, I've been so focused on not being ready to be the man I want to be that I didn't notice the people I love most had started to move on without me. That's the cost to your relationships, y'all. And it's not a dramatic blow up. It's not a crisis you can just point to. It's just a better word to say is distance, like quiet distance, building every day you stay on that pause mechanism, right? Now, I want to get into the faith aspect. It's not only costing relationships, time, all of those things, but it also costs you your faith and your purpose. And it's going to spend a lot. I'm going to take a little bit longer here and spend more time on this piece because I think this is relevant. And you already know this is one of you. This is a feeling that you have already in your gut. So if you're a man of faith, and many of you listening are, staying stuck in the trap of the perfect plan is a faith issue. It's actually at your core, waiting for the perfect conditions before a move is saying, I don't trust that God can work with what I've got right now. It's saying something like, I need to have it all figured out before I take the next step forward. Yet, that's not how faith works. You know that, right? Faith is moving before you see the full picture. Faith is stepping off the boat before you know for certain the water will hold you. Remember when that happened? Jesus walked on the water, and someone else did as well and lost faith and started falling. So, and purpose, your sense of calling, direction that you're actually here to do. Purpose doesn't find people who are paused. Purpose finds people in motion. You don't think your way to purpose. You move your way to it. You start the path, and the path becomes clearer as you walk it. Every month you stay on pause, it's another month you are not walking toward what you are built to do. And here's the cost of identity, y'all. And this is the last one. This might be the deepest cut. Are you ready for this? Here it is. Every time you tell yourself, I'll start when I'm ready, and then don't start, you're teaching yourself something crazy. You're training yourself to believe that you are the kind of person who doesn't follow through, who waits, who talks, but doesn't move. And identity is built by evidence. What you do or you don't do is what you believe about yourself over time. And that pause doesn't just delay action, it rewrites who you think you are. I remember David again. David said to me at one point, I think it was something like, I don't even know if I trust myself anymore. I've told myself I was going to do things so many times, and then I didn't. I'm not sure even if I believe myself, he said. Now, this is the deeper cause of the pause, not the weight you didn't lose, not the goal you didn't hit. It's the slow erosion of belief in yourself, because every unkept promise to yourself is a crack in the foundation of your identity. And you cannot, my listeners, you cannot build a thriving life on a cracked foundation. So why do you stay paused? Why do I do this, Michael? I'm going to give you the real reason why you stay on pause. So if the cost is this high, and it is, why do smart, capable, caring people like David stay stuck? I actually talked about this in the first part one of the series about overthinking, about fear is like wearing a suit. But I want to go one level deeper today, because I think that's something underneath the fear that keeps the pause in place. And until you name it, you cannot break it. It's the story. Every person I ever coached who was stuck in the trap of the perfect plan, underneath the overthinking pattern, underneath the fear, there was a story they were telling themselves that made the pause feel logic, feel safe, feel justified. And for some of you, that story is not the kind of person who, I'm not the kind of person who works out consistently, or I'm not the kind of person who leads his family well, or I've attempted before and it didn't work. It didn't stick. So clearly, I'm just not that guy. And for some of you, the story is, now is just not the right time. There's always the reason. The timing isn't right. Always, because the story needs a reason. And the world will always provide one reason if you're looking for it. And for some of you, the story is, I don't want to fall, or I should say fail. Fail is a better word in this situation. I don't want to fail in front of people who are watching me. So you wait until you are sure you can do it perfectly, because perfect execution means I won't get criticized, and I won't be embarrassed, and I can't have, and I won't have to face the gap between who you are and who you want to be. And for some of you, this one is the deepest. The story is, I don't deserve the life I want yet. I want to earn it first. So you're waiting to become worthy of the good thing before you allow yourself to go after it. And I want to go back to David's story. Was the last one. He had grown up in a home where love felt conditional, where approval was earned, and something along the way, he'd wired himself to believe that the life he wanted, healthy, present, purposeful, leading the family well, was something he had to deserve before he had to actually claim it. And since he never quite felt deserving enough, the pause just continued to escalate. Here's what I think was the profound change for him. This is what I told him. And what I want to tell you directly is this. The life you want is not a reward for becoming ready. It's the arena in which you become who you've been meant to be. As a high school athlete, college athlete, and then eventually worked myself up to the college level coaching wise, and then coach professionally. Let me say this better. You don't get healthy and then start showing up. You start showing up and get healthy in the process. You don't figure out your purpose and then step into it. You step, and the purpose emerges as you move. You don't become the husband and father and leader you want to be by entering your life. You enter your life imperfectly, incompletely, exactly how you are right now, and you become him in the doing. Now, the story that says, I'm not ready or not yet, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a complete lie. It's an actual malicious lie, a protective lie, and it was built to keep you ready? safe. Yet it's keeping you small. And it's time to call it what it is. So I told you the series gives you a little bit. And I want to give you a little bit more. Just enough to get going. Just enough to move. And not so much that I'm handing you a plan you'll overthink. Because remember, that's the trap that I talked about in the perfect plan is the trap, right? So here's the one move I want you to make this next week. 1, not 5. It's not a system, just 1. Name the cost out loud. Here's what I mean. Everything we talked about today, the cost to your body, your mind, your relationship, your purpose, your faith, your identity, I want you to pick the one that hits the hardest. The one that made you feel something when I described it. The one that made you think of a specific person or a specific moment or a specific version of yourself you've been avoiding in that mirror. And I want you to say it out loud. All right? Not think it. Say it out loud to yourself today. For example, the pause has cost me fill in the blank. Fill it in honestly. Now, don't soften it. Don't hedge it, which landscaping, I'm looking over here at my landscape, which I'm adoring and spent so many hours on it. But say the real thing. Because here's what it does. And this is grounded in how change actually happens. Naming the cost out loud makes it real in a way that thinking about it never does. It moves it from abstract to concrete. From I should probably do something about this to this is actually happening and it's actually costing me something I actually care about. And that gap, y'all, between the abstract and the concrete is where the motivation starts. And once you have the motivation is what gets you going. And then accountability and consistency is the whole process after that. David's moment was when he said out loud for the first time, the pause has cost me my son seeing me as someone they look up to. Not I need to get healthier. Not I should be more present. That specific, that honest, that painful moment. And something shifted. Not that I gave him a perfect plan, because he finally let himself feel the real cost instead of staying comfortable in the fog of the word someday, right? So that's your homework. Just one sentence out loud today. The pause that cost me, fill in the blank. And if you want to take it even one step further, and only if you're ready, write down one move. Not a plan, not a program, one move you can make in the next 48 hours that would be a proof to yourself that you're no longer on the pause mode or that pause button. Maybe it's one text. Maybe it's one call. Maybe it's one workout. Maybe it's one honest conversation. Maybe it's that prayer that you've been neglecting to ask God because of your self-worth. Maybe it's one decision. Just one. That's all I'm asking. Just one. So here's what I want to leave you with today. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not somebody who just isn't built for change. You are actually someone who has been carrying a story that told you to wait. And you believed it. And you believed it because it felt safe. And because nobody ever helped you see the full cost of what that waiting is taking from you. Now you see it, and then you cannot unsee it. I talked a lot about David today. David was the guy who couldn't make himself jump off that diving board. He's still working with me, believe it or not. And I'll tell you that I told you about James from episode 191. It's not a fairy tale. It's not instant. Yet David is in the water now. And what's so beautiful is he's moving, he's imperfect, and he's moving with those two things together. And they're worth more than any perfect plan that never got started. He told me something recently that I've been sitting with for an extensive amount of time. He said, Michael, I wasted so much time waiting to be ready. However, I think I had to feel the cost. I like had to really feel it before I could move. And the pain of staying was finally beginning to be bigger than the fear of going. And that was it. That was the whole key. The pain of staying has to become bigger than the fear of going. And I believe, and if you're listening to this and wherever you are, if you're in your car and listening to your podcast, you got me on YouTube, wherever it is, if this series so far found you, and if something in today's episode made your chest tight and maybe your eyes sting just a little bit, I believe the pain of staying is starting to outweigh the fear of going for you too. So next week, I'm going to drop part 3, and you don't want to miss that. It's the final chapter. We're going to talk about what it actually looks like to break out of the trap. There's no such thing as a perfect plan. I'm going to give you a real plan, a real one, built for real people that deal with the stuff in every single real daily life with real obstacles, with the real detour map. And that's episode 194, and you do not want to miss it. And hey, if you're sitting there right now thinking, I don't want to wait, Michael, for part 3. I want to start moving now, this instant. I'm worth honoring myself. That's not impatience. That's momentum. And momentum is rare and precious, so do not waste that. You know where to find me. Reach out. Let's talk. That's what I'm here for. If you want to get more information on this, you can go to simply at michael@live2thrive.com. That's LIV, the number 2 thrive.com. And as always, 1% better in mind, body, and soul. And always stay flexed. Take care, y'all.